Oh, no. That was my lead thing.
You're the chair. You can ask all the questions you want. That's like the golden rule.
No, my script is all screwed up. No.
That's forever, Courtney.
Hey, can you mute
Yeah.
so we don't have the?
I just did.
Oh,
You're
yeah,
live.
thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you so much, Linda.
Well, welcome everyone to the, I'd like to call to order the Legislative Committee meeting for April 11th, 2025. It's 11 o'clock in the morning and we should call a roll. I'm Julie White, the mayor.
And I'm Deanna Gwen, City Councilor.
Urban M. Brown, City Councilor.
We don't have Vanessa today.
Okay.
All right, so where do we start?
I can do a little bit of lead off if you
Please, thank you.
So hello, everyone. Today, we are going to take a moment to go over the legislative calendar, which I think everyone has, and it's in the packet on the website. The legislative calendar is a really, really useful tool right now because we're in, even Wednesday, some bills fell off, which is why in pen on your agenda, you'll notice that Senate Bill 65 has been removed from your agenda. So that is one that fell off on Wednesday. So we're gonna start with the calendar, and then we're gonna go into specific bills. And as time allows, we'll jump into funding priorities and anything else that is useful for you all to hear. So with that, I'm gonna ask Justin to give us an orientation to the calendar that you all have, and then we'll move into the bill reviews.
Awesome. Thank you, Courtney, Madam Mayor and councilors and staff. Welcome to our mid-April update. As Courtney mentioned, I'll go through the calendar real quick. I'll also give a quick update on some key upcoming meetings that I have. And then finally, at the end of our agenda, I know we're going to talk about state funding priorities. So first and foremost, I just want to say a huge thank you to Nicole Holmes in my office and Courtney Knox Bush for keeping everything on the track. As everybody probably knows, my mom passed away 3 weeks ago. And we just had her service yesterday, got all that behind us. And Mayor, thank you for helping guide me through those meetings during those tough times. You know, it's moments like this that you realize work is important and the things that we do is very important, but family and friends and our community is even more important. And I know that you as electeds always have that in the back of your mind when you do your work. So I just want to really thank Courtney and Nicole for keeping us in line. I've been a little bit in a fog for a little while, but hey, we're breaking back out of it. So with that, thank you to our team for doing that. In looking at this calendar, you guys have a nice colored copy of it in front of you. The really important things that are coming up and just passed, as Courtney mentioned, the April 9th deadline was to hold a work session in the first chamber. The next deadline that we all need to pay attention to is May 9th. Which is they have to post a work session in that second chamber. Deadlines after that, if you can see on your map, are May 23rd, the second chamber deadline, have to have a work session held by then. They are targeting June 18th as sine die. You know, that's always a nice, bold prediction, but I think we've seen over the years that they pretty much take all the time that they're allowed. They have to be out of there June 29th. But usually when legislatures come in on Mondays, they end up staying there the whole week. There's also a process to actually get out of the building, which is a physical administrative process that does take a little bit of time. We know some other important things that are going on right now are the Ways and Means Committee has been doing road shows throughout the state. Those will end on April 25th. And finally, we know that May 14th revenue forecast is really important because that's the final number of dollars that are going to be available or not moving forward. And that's really that 6-week period as we continue to advocate for our funding priorities. That 6 weeks is when we really start working on it. So that's the calendar. As it relates, the upcoming meetings I have on Monday, I am with Co-Chair Lieber again for the second meeting. The mayor and I met with her early in session. She gave us really good advice about telling our story when it comes to public safety and what we offer the state capitol as an entity in terms of safety in police and fire, and what we do that's so important in and around that building, why it is costly for us to do that. We've made that case. We will make that again on Monday when I meet with the co-chair. Then I meet with the other co-chair, Representative Sanchez, the week later on the 21st. Again, we've had those meetings, the mayor and I, with folks. Then we will schedule, after I have those meetings, I will then schedule with the Senate President as well as the Speaker of the House to go over how those meetings went with the co-chairs. And again, reiterating or continuing to ring the bell on what our funding needs are. I have a meeting on the 15th with Representative Mannix, and that's twofold. One, he's asked some things about public safety, which is great. But we also want to be able to, I need to talk to him a little bit about just what's happened in the building funding over time. And I always do look to Representative Mannix for his advice since he's been around just about as long as I have, if not longer, with a little bit of a break in service there. And then after that, I need to meet with Representative Evans. As folks know, he's been having some health issues. And when we look at our emergency funding surrounding the airport, I really got to get with him on that. So he's been out of the building. I heard he was back. I will work to make that happen really quick. Senator Patterson as well. I heard her brother passed away. I have not been with her in a while, so I'm going to make sure to get that. And then Representative Deal and Representative Munoz, all follow-ups to those introductory meetings that the mayor and I did. So with that, those are the key upcoming meetings. We're really going to rely on staff. I know we went long last time we met, and staff has done a wonderful job in preparing information for you today. So thank you, Courtney, and I'll pass it back over to you.
Thank you. So we want to focus on the bill reviews that we have before you for today. And I just want to start by remembering out loud that these bill reviews are staff opinions about potential impacts to city operations. So they are not intended to be your position. You all have a different landscape and perspective that adds value to the city's positions. So what we're commenting on is sort of more the possibility of an impact to city operations, not a political lens. We're not adding those values. That's really where you come in. And so what's before you are a list of bills and our assessment. And what we're inviting is your perspective, your choice, whether to advance to council a position on a bill or not. This is where really your perspectives come into play in considering the city's policies and positions on bills. I want to just remember the way we choose which ones we offer to you are because we're hearing some noise. You might be hearing that too. You might want to take a position on a bill. We're being asked by someone for the city to take a position, so we want to make sure that you have a chance to review that. Or we are really concerned about the potential impacts to city operations. And so that's why things are appearing on the list. You may have different perspectives again and might want to invite the city to take a position on something we haven't considered yet. That's also open, that's your purview. So I want to notice the policy statements really quickly. These are things that, we don't really pay attention to every time we get together. They're attached in your packet. And they are a reflection of what we've learned before going through some of our different sections over time. We thought, oh, wow, if this bill comes up again, we want to make sure we're ready for it. And so we work with legislative committee members to make a really good foundation. And this is where I get a little bit sports analogy like, but so imagine that that's the platform from which we can just bat away things that are going to hurt the city, or that we can launch support for things that are going to be beneficial to the organization. So you'll notice this is just like a historical archive, but it's useful for us. We noticed that there was an urban renewal bill, for example, that would require urban renewal plan amendments and plans themselves to go to vote We have a really solid foundation and policy statements that say that's not cool. And so it's from there that we're able to advance the city's position instead of bringing it to you and taking up our time together. So I just want to make sure that you have that awareness. Sometimes in the middle of the session, it's hard to adjust the statements, but they are yours and we can adjust them as you wish. It might be useful at the end of session to reflect back and think, wow, we really need something about this or something about that. And that will be our work together when the session's over. But again, it's your document. We can advance it with changes to council at any time. So I want to talk about the bills. There are two. I'm going to try to channel my inner Ryan Zink and talk to you today about municipal solid waste and about solid waste disposal within Marion County. Those two bills, for your reference, are House Bill 3794 and Senate Bill 1067. And what I want to share with you is a lay of the land. Again, you can choose to advance a position, you can choose not to, and then council will approve based on your recommendations. With regard to the solid waste bill, this one, Senate Bill 1067 is the one I'd like to start with. And that one is allowing individual cities within Marion County to do their own solid waste processes. And that is in conflict with House Bill 3794, which is more focused on a regional solution, a long-term plan for waste disposal regionally. So those two things are kind of in conflict with each other. We are aware that Marion County has issued a really strong letter of opposition regarding Senate Bill 1067. Their concern is that there's been quite a lot of investment in how we manage solid waste across the county. It's again, that kind of regional effort. And the concern is that you would erode that investment. You'd have tons more investment all of these micro applications across the city. So that's the concern there. We, the city, our staff are also interested in opposing Senate Bill 1067 if you are. And we would recommend advancing House Bill 3794, which is again more of that regional approach to solid waste management. So that's where staff are, but we welcome your opinion.
So that's what Ryan thought.
That's what Ryan thought.
Yeah, I agree with Ryan.
Dr. Brown, this is more of an informal yay, nay, and then we would take that to council as a recommendation from this committee if you want to advance those positions.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Please.
No,
And this is for 1067, correct?
1067 is the, we would ask that the city consider opposing 1067, which is a city by city response to municipal solid waste. We would ask that the city would support House Bill 3794 because that one has the benefit of being more, regional in its effort.
Right. And what position is the county taking? Do we know?
The county is opposed to Senate Bill 1067.
Okay, got it. Thank
So
you.
in this room, it sounds like the two members here are willing to advance those two positions to council. So the question would just be, are you generally okay with that?
Yes.
Okay.
and Dr. Brown, I'm on the solid waste committee as well. And I know that Ryan and the committee in general works really well with the county. So I would hate for us to take a position that they are not in support of as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we will take those two bills at the next council meeting. And then West Side Express. Julie, do you want to talk about this repeat bill a little bit?
Sure. So this bill would actually establish a West Side Express authority. So it would transfer the operating firm of the West Side Express service away from TriMet, create its own authority, and then part of the bill is also for that authority to study extending the service from city of Wilsonville down to Salem, and then also further extending it to Eugene. So no news about what the outcome would be, right? The deadlines for those studies are 2028 for the extension down to Salem and 2029 for the extension down to Eugene. We have typically been supportive of doing a study of this because we think that it would benefit our population and people getting to Salem or leaving Salem. So we are recommending support of this.
Having sat in traffic, I'm in support of this. It would be probably very successful.
And I've been involved in that too, so I definitely support it.
And it's a nice bipartisan bill, Mannix and Neron together.
All into it.
Okay, so Dr. Brown, do you have a position thumbs up? Okay, so we can take that forward to council for support.
Is it always gonna be this easy?
Well, let's try the next.
We try to weed it out.
I'm
We try to
sorry.
weed it out before you get it.
Okay.
Yes, we try to read them out, and we're in a specific time of the year where some things that are advancing probably for some reason, right? So it's easier probably. The next bill is House Bill 3634, and this is about giving us more flexibility so we can hire people for our water work. Do you want to explain a little bit, Jason?
Well, in a nutshell, we specifically us, but all municipal providers of water and wastewater services are having a very difficult time hiring qualified operators. And so there's generally, levels of certification that you're required to have to be able to operate independently at a water or wastewater plant. For instance, we've been trying to hire a wastewater treatment plant operator 3 now for about 18 months at Willow Lake. And we cannot find anybody. So basically what this does is it encourages the higher education, what is it called? HECC?
Coordinating Commission.
Thank you, Justin. To start apprenticeship programs and allow on-the-job training so that we can hire folks in and allow them to grow in that role and get them a basic level of certification where they can start. Because right now, we won't hire a uncertified water or wastewater operator, right? They have to have at least a minimum level of certification, and those are becoming harder and harder to find. We used to have a program at Lynn Benton that is shut down. The only program now is at Clackamas Community College that would get you to that point where you could actually start your career. So as our technology and our and everything advances, we need the ability to hire people, out of high school, out of college that can then work their way up through the certification.
I'm all for it. I don't mean to interrupt, but.
No, I mean,
That's a
it's a no-brainer.
And how do I apply?
I know, because I've had you out at Garen,
I love it out
I've
there.
had you out there a couple times and you're just like, can I
Just
put
wanna
my
be here.
office out here?
Is there any concerns with us advancing support for that bill? Okay, thank you. The next one has to do with civil commitment, and this is House Bill 2467. I probably should have said that in your packet is the bill review, and so this is all generated out of a bill system that staff have access to and are tracking all of the time. And what it tells you is, it gives you a link, first of all, to the bill, so you have that. It gives you a sense of who's sponsoring this, and that helps us, and helps Justin think through some of the political landscape. And it also gives you a sense of where the bill is in its life cycle or process. And then you'll see a relating to clause, the bigger ones, the bigger relating to clause, the more broad, the more likely that thing could shift a little bit. The more specific, the less likely it will shift in its topic or content. And then you'll see a little one-liner that talks about what the bill is trying to do. And then you'll see the staff comments about what the impacts are to the city. So I probably should have started there, I apologize. But we'll move on to the civil commitment bill. This is House Bill 2467, and it's more than that. So Jessica, would you like to share its sort of Oregon Housing Authority
Yes.
Perspective on that?
We were recently contacted by the Housing Authorities of Oregon Executive Group, who had asked us to testify in support of this bill on their behalf. And so we did. As a housing authority collective group, we have taken a position that we've taken on these high acuity permanent supportive housing projects where we're bringing people currently coming out of homelessness and wrapping around services to provide on site. What we have recognized is that the acuity level is even higher than we originally had anticipated. And it brings about challenges that aren't typical of a landlord. So this is not something that housing authority employees are equipped to handle. None of us have any kind of mental health certifications. So we don't have the tools and the resources to assist this population in the way we believe that we can. This bill seeks to clarify language, and it appears it's been in progress for about 3 years with multiple groups and a bipartisan effort to clarify language around danger to self and danger to others. It also makes the definitions separate and distinct, so that danger to themselves and danger to others are basically scored on a different scale. The current statute doesn't define it, basically, we have some folks and it's not a lot, it's just one person at this moment at one of our buildings that's in very big crisis, that we actually went through the entire mental health system to get a 2-party petition. We were told that unless we can get them to voluntarily appear in court, it would be dismissed. This person, we have done everything we can for the last 2 years that are within our toolbox, including using the support of others, Marion County Behavioral Health, other entities. And the system's very broken and it's very inhumane. This individual is in crisis and causing others in the building to go into crisis. And we have no mechanism to basically get them the help that they need. In our world of housing authorities, we don't seek to evict, we seek to find treatment options. In this particular instance, if this civil commitment was available to us, we could hold this person's housing while they go and get the treatment that they so desperately need, and come back to us and retain their housing. The only option we have at this moment is to evict this individual, and that is the course of action that will likely take place. And we feel it's not humane. This person's going to die on the street, and it's very sad for us. And we've worked so hard with everything that we have and every community partner resource we can think of, and we cannot help this person. And so I feel like we can do more. And Representative Mannix and Representative Anderson are both on this bill. They have both brought forward this bill, and the -3 amendments are pretty clearly stated, and it's moved unanimously out of the Judiciary Committee. We would like to support it on our own and not necessarily just with the Housing Authorities of Oregon, because it's such an important topic for the city of Salem and for the Salem Housing Authority. It's moved to Ways and Means. We hope that if the committee is supportive and then council is supportive, we would like to start setting up meetings with Gomberg and Evans and any other ones we thought were important to really just express the issue from a housing perspective, because the last thing we want to do is evict these people when they're in crisis.
Thank you, Jessica, for the eloquent demonstration of why this is important. And I want to just take a quick minute and bring Councilor Nordick up to date, who's joined us. Thank you for noticing. Councilor Nordick, we are discussing House Bill 2467 at this time, and I just want to make sure that you're aware that Senate Bill 65 has been crossed off the list because it didn't make the deadline from Wednesday. So we're on House Bill 2467 around civil commitment. The other bills on the agenda have all been advanced to council for their consideration so far, all in support of the staff position that has so far been presented. So we're on House Bill 2467 and we're asking for comments, and it looks like Councilor Brown, you have a comment.
I really have a question, but I don't want to interrupt you sharing with Counselor Nordike the update.
I think I've done what I felt was needed, and I'm certainly open to questions from Counselor Nordic, but why don't you start, please?
Well, I have one question. And so when I look at the bills we're currently reviewing today and the ones we discussed last month, obviously there are some that are not here on today's agenda versus last month. Is it the correct assumption that we made a decision not to track those bills from last month, or did those bills just die in the House?
So I would have to go back and compare more diligently to be able to provide you with an accurate response.
Okay.
But it is true that many have fallen off. It is also true that staff are trying to be more careful about using our policy statements and reserving bills that are really require your review for these meetings. So it's possible that we've gone back and done a finer check against our policy statements and found a way to react to the bill without going through the committee, because those policy statements have already been approved, right, by the committee.
Mm-hmm.
So it's possible that we're just trying to streamline the time that we're borrowing
Right.
from you all as volunteers to make it
Right.
the most impact.
Well, I'm
But
totally.
we can go back and do a comparison, because I know that Nicole did that for us. There were a couple of bills that the council had taken action on that are not advancing. So I
Yes.
can be a lot more precise when we next get together, if you'd like.
Oh yeah, I would definitely love that because if we're taking a stance and moving things to the council, I think it would be helpful to explain to the rest of the council we were supportive of these bills, like they were on our agenda, but now 1 month later, some of those bills are completely missing. So I think there's going to be some question or some concern there, and so I would definitely love the clarity as to the why we left some bills and why we're adding more.
Yes. Also, it's been our practice at the end of each session to bring a summary report about everything, all the action, and give you all an update on a tracking tool to figure out what happened. But usually we're better at that when the dust is settled than in real time when there's so much movement. But I'll be prepared with that next time. Did we have any?
And that's really important, if I can, Madam Mayor and Courtney, to Dr. Brown's question. That's really important because a lot of these concepts we will see again. So when we talk about, for a quick example, we talk about Senate Bill 65 not going anywhere this session. The senator, the chair of the committee, actually stated that he's going to work with the proponents and make sure to bring this back in 2026. So your point of us having that inventory, whether it's at the end or whether it's right now, it's very important for us to always keep those on our radar screens. Courtney also mentioned relating clauses. So even though a bill may have not got out of committee under a certain deadline, we still keep it on our tracking sheet. Nikki's still hawking it every day to make sure it doesn't come back in another form. So all of this stuff is there, but that's a really good point. So we can lay out and make sure to have that inventory either at the end of session or towards the end of session to keep an eye on things, but also know that they're probably coming back in the future.
Yeah, I mean,
it's also, sorry, excuse me, it's also true that staff are watching so many more bills than will make the committee, this committee's floor. There are so, I don't know, were we at 3,000?
Yes,
Yeah,
there
but-
were over 3,000.
So we're watching a lot of things that we may or may not have a chance to bring to you because of the various deadlines in the session. I did find a record that I knew I had. It is true that the Capital District Funding Bill, which was House Bill 2531, sponsored by Representative Anderson, that bill did not meet the session deadline. So while that's unfortunate, we do have other ways that we're trying to advance that work. So I wanted to make sure you knew that council did approve the position there. And there was also an open meetings bill that we opposed, council approved. It was House Bill 3720, and that also did not meet the session deadline, so that bill is also dead.
Yes, that was one of mine. That's on my list. And there are a couple of more. I know Justin mentioned, 65, 3841, 49. So there are several that didn't make that transition, but I'm not going to use our time now. I would love to see, the end result as to the why those are gone.
Yeah, we'll give you that.
Thank you.
Councilor Nordyke, you have your hand up.
Yes, I do. So I wanted to offer my comments on House Bill 2467, if now's a good time.
Please.
Great. I'm in favor, and this is why. First of all, I am a former member of the board of directors for NAMI of Oregon. That's the National Alliance for Mental Illness. And they are deeply invested in this bill. And the fact that they are supportive of this bill and have been deeply involved in this bill is a huge sign for me, because I know NAMI from having worked with them, again, as a board member, not in any paid capacity. I've yet to actually find a volunteer opportunity where I get paid. I don't know what the problem is here. But anyway, they are widely respected for their work in mental illness. And frankly, I've handled civil commitment cases when I was at the Department of Justice. It is an extremely difficult standard to meet. And we did everything we could to defend situations where someone was going to hurt themselves or hurt someone else. And because of how the law was structured and how the courts have been interpreting it, it was really difficult to find some sort of common ground where it's really about a person's safety. So when I look at the bill amendments and the things that they want to do to change it, it lowers the requirements slightly, but in my view, it still retains a lot of those core civil rights protections that people have when someone is looking to commit them to a hospital. So I feel like this legislation toes the line, and I am happy to be supportive. I apologize for my tardiness. Hearing that Shaw is supportive is yet another feather in this bill's cap as far as I'm concerned. So I'm supportive.
Me too. I was encouraged to come and testify actually by Marion County, and I did so as me, not as a representative of the city, but was happy to see the housing authority there. I just might follow you anywhere, actually. But one, and I know we don't have a lot of time, but one piece of testimony that really struck me, and there's a name for the condition that folks have when they don't know that they're ill. It's asynogia or something like that. Anyway, one gentleman testified, married for 34 years. Their son killed his mother. They tried hard for years to get him committed and couldn't do it. It's 2 years now since her death that he's been at the state hospital, and he is just now becoming stable and realizing what he did. So this bill hopefully can get some people who really, really need it, the help that they need before something horrible passes.
So it sounds generally like we should advance the bill. Yes, okay, thank you. We'll do that. I'm really sorry for the change in tone. We have 2 bills left that we want to make sure you're able to consider. And we also want to get to the funding updates and the federal updates. So we have 2 bills. One is about public meeting grievance timelines. Mark, you're going to talk about that. The other one is about city council re-election, and it's a statewide bill. We're not really sure if that's moving, just would like you to have awareness of it. Would you mind, Mark, just leading us through a little bit on the implications of those 2 bills, please?
Sure, my bill review is in your packet. Happy to answer any questions that you may have about what's there. In essence, though, as is outlined in that summary, if this bill will create 2 different tracks of timelines for grievances for violations of the public meeting law. with a grievance based on violations of the public meeting law related to executive sessions being a 1 year deadline. It's currently 30 days, and all other grievances remaining at that 30-day deadline. Are the process for filing a grievance is not particularly onerous. It doesn't require a formal pleading or anything along those lines. There are some things that you need to meet, but it's not the same as filing a legal document in, let's say, circuit court. And I know most cities, we do it, put the process for doing it and the access for doing it right on their website. So it's not a particularly cumbersome process. I guess the questions for this committee are whether or not it wants to oppose this bill, or if not, oppose it in its entirety. There has been some testimony on this bill, as I noted in my bill review, by some other groups, including the League of Oregon Cities and the Association of Oregon Counties, where they have said we oppose this bill unless it's amended to just put all grievances at a 60-day timeline. That's a decision. I believe 30 days is accurate, is ample. I think the thing that would be most detrimental to the city would be having two separate timelines, especially if one grievance is going to arguably encompass both types of situations and trying to ferret that out. So the question to this committee would be whether or not it wants to take a position on this bill, and if so, oppose it outright, or I don't know if it would be support with an amendment. Is that what that position would be? If it's like, we're okay with this bill as long as it's amended to have to align with what the League of Oregon Cities and the Association of Oregon Counties is doing, which is a 60-day deadline for all of the grievances.
Yeah, we could do whatever the council and the committee would like us to do. I would like to also just share Mark's key point there is that the AOC and the LOC are already advancing their opposition or suggestions for amendments. So again, this is about your perspective and how you want to proceed. You may decide that that's enough, and the city would need to take a position. You may wish, however, to advance a strong position on behalf of the city. So that again is your prerogative. So whatever it is that you would like to do, advance staff position with amendment, do nothing, that would be the recommendation we would give to the full council. Up to you.
And we got to decide that today, CSO, is that correct?
I'm sorry, I was just checking to see if there was any political lens that we needed to consider. What did you say? Sorry, Council.
Are we making a decision on that today to advance it? Is that the question on the floor?
Or not?
Yeah, I would say the politics around this, it's sitting in rules. So anything in rules can be waived. Rules is basically a committee made up of all leadership. Everything at the end of session really comes through those committees, which stay open the whole time. Representative Helfrich is a sponsor of this, so I don't know why he would ever be in the mix. He was in leadership, but he's not in leadership now. We've got two of our collaboratives, whether that's AOC or LOC, already opposed. It doesn't hurt to say why we don't like it. I don't know if we need to do that publicly, so I wouldn't spend a lot of time on this. It's my political recommendation.
Our chair should recognize. You're the chair.
Okay.
Should recognize Councilor Nordyke.
Oh, of course. We're not
Councilor
following
Nordyke.
any rules though, because staff should be driving the mouse.
Sorry. Councilor Nordyke, please share your thoughts.
Sure, thank you. No, I'm fully in favor of letting League of Oregon Cities take the wheel on this one. I am also perplexed as to why this is being brought. It feels like a solution in search of a problem as far as I'm concerned. So I don't think we have so many other more important concerns that we should be focusing our limited time and energy on, that I would be inclined to take a back seat on this one. If the league is already vocalizing their opposition, and I'm certainly not inclined to support it, it seems like a restriction on city councilors all over the state. And I just don't understand why you would want to do that.
Me either.
We shouldn't be disincentivizing people from engaging in public service. And I can tell you, as the last man standing, it seems from prior years, there's been a lot of turnover in this council. We have very little experience on this council. And so I don't, and I can't speak for other councils, but the idea of restricting whether and when folks can seek re-election, again, I think experience is a good thing. Institutional knowledge is a good thing. So I mean, I am perplexed as to the basis for seeking this. So, but again, is it worth our time? I think our lobbyist is spot on. So that's my recommendation. Thank you.
We may be talking about both of the bills at the same time, which I think also makes sense.
Yeah.
So it sounds like how long someone has to do a grievance about a public meeting. It also sounds like you all would like to just let that happen, let the league and the AOC take the lead.
Yeah.
And then we've slipped into analysis about the city council reelection, which in case some of you aren't following, that one is about how you can't run if you're seated in a city council seat. So it seems really hard
So you can't run for city council if
While
you're
you're
already-
sitting.
Right, so
Correct.
that one seems hard, and I think that's Counselor Nordic, some of what you were just reflecting on, and so those two bills together seem to be sort of infringing on council and local issues. So it sounds like we would let the league, let the Association of Oregon Counties kind of take the lead on both of those bills, is what I'm hearing.
Clarify.
I want to clarify, I'm not aware of any testimony, and the other bill is House Bill 3500. I'm not aware of any testimony in opposition or support, quite frankly. I looked this morning for any amendments, didn't see any. Last time I checked, there was no testimony given on it. So the testimony in opposition is in relationship to 3638. I do not know of the League of Oregon Cities or the Association of Oregon Counties having taken a position on House Bill 3500. Although I will agree with Councilor Nordyke that I will actually, let me put a little bit of nuance. It seems like House Bill 3500 is a solution probably for a very particular problem in a very particular situation that's getting applied to everyone. And
Correct.
what that bill says is a city councilor may not run for re-election to the city council in any election prior to the last election of their term. So although it's a specific reading of it, here, the mayor is a member of our city council. So if a city councilor is 1 year into their term, hypothetically speaking, and the mayor's position becomes available, are they prohibited for running for the mayor's position at the next election when they are not at the last election of their city council term? So in a strict reading of this, we may get a challenge on that. So the note was perhaps being neutral on it if amended, or supporting if amended to clarify that issue as whether that it is for a same position that individual held, or it wouldn't prohibit them from running for a mayor or something along those lines.
And I think, Mark, I think to your point, this doesn't really feel like a regular bill. There isn't a lot of testimony. It feels very strange. And so that means that there may be larger issues at play, one issue or larger political issues at play. And so while, we brought it because it speaks to city council and city councils statewide. So we thought you might have interest. That's why we brought it before you, but
Thank you.
possibility that it advances, given that it hasn't really followed normal protocols there's a lot of weirdness. So, and we may not, it's up to you. You may not wish to enter the fray, whatever whatever's going on. We may not, the city may not want to be a part of it. We don't know.
I keep looking for my name. But it's not there. I would say no. No,
No position or opposed?
opposed.
Okay. Anything else? Do you have any other political?
No, I mean, this bill's a little different because it's Representative Drazen. As everybody knows, she ran for governor. She's vice chair on rules. So
Mhm.
it might be in play just to make sure that when we get into kind of this transactional phase of the legislature, that it's sitting down in rules. It's narrowly defined, so it's not like it relating to government entities, or it's relating to city councilors running within it's very narrow. So I don't know much about it, but opposed to the other bill where it's Representative Helfrich, this is Representative Drazen. Now, we've got a very good relationship with that office. The mayor and I had a great meeting in there. We know her staff very well, so I will try to get some more information as well as it sits down there.
So you don't need to take action today, is the other thing that Justin's saying. So again, there are two bills. The first is about the public meeting grievance timeline and extending those. Do you want to oppose? Do you want to let the league and AOC take care of it? Do you want to take a position or wait on the House Bill 3500 about city councilor elections? What's
3,500, I want to wait on that one.
okay? Would anyone like to take a position forward or wait?
He wanted to wait on which one?
The city council election thing that feels strange.
What does it mean when, Dr. Brown, what does it mean when you say you want to wait? I want it to go away.
What, isn't it in rules?
Yes,
So
So-
regardless, we still have to wait.
do you want to explain briefly that being stuck in rules, you were saying it earlier, just.
Yeah, rules stays open. I mean, Dr. Brown's right. Rules stay open.
Right.
Obviously, we would oppose this bill. Let's just find out some more information.
Okay.
Let's go talk to Jacob. Let's figure out what exactly is going on here. Because again, we've got a real good relationship with Representative Drazen as well. And let's just try to get a better sense before you guys have to make any decisions.
Yes, please do, because I'm getting a sense that there is another reason why this bill has approached us, and I would like to know why.
Okay, so we'll do more research on that unless anyone wishes to advance a position. I'm not hearing any. We have the tenor of the room. We are aware that we do not like this bill, and we will find out more and come back. On House Bill 3638 regarding public meeting grievance timelines, do you want to take a position forward, or do you want to let LOC AOC do this?
For me personally, Counselor Nordyke put it well.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd rather tab. I realized I was speaking specifically to 3,500. I wasn't addressing the grievances in my remarks, but now that you mention it, I too would prefer that League of Oregon Cities take the lead on that. Thank you.
So hearing no other view, we'll proceed. You'll see on your docket as city councilors, you'll see a report reflecting advancing the following bills. House Bill 3794, Senate Bill 1067, House Bill 3453, House Bill 3634, and House Bill 2497. We will advance those bill 2467. Sorry about my brain. And we will advance those for the full council's consideration at your next, not Monday, but at the end of April. Okay, so we will now switch really quickly to talk about funding priorities, and then we'll hear if Mark has time, we might hear a little bit from Mark Dedrick about federal. What would you like to tell us about our state priorities?
Just say, we keep bringing it up, as everybody knows, Mayor and I've been in these meetings. I got the shots that I mentioned earlier with, I do this once a session with the co-chairs, where I go in and put on multiple hats and let people know what our clients need. So I'm looking forward to those discussions. Again, that's State Capital District, that's the airport terminal plan. Again, the mayor and I were in there talking about those things. Federal funding and how that overlays will add a little bit of a wrinkle to that. The emergency and resiliency power aspect. We've also got requests in for the River Road slide mitigation, Peace Plaza. There are some other things that our representatives are working on that we're gathering information right now as well. But we're continuing to march toward that really 6-week race of what can we try to get out of the legislature as a body to benefit ourselves. Yes, that was what first thing I said. So that's that. We're there and we're on the line.
Can I ask a question?
Yes. Words.
So Helm and Owens, the water caucus, right? I mean, they had requested from us, from everybody, funding priorities for infrastructure related to housing.
Okay.
Have you heard anything about a package being put together for infrastructure funding? Other than transportation?
I haven't, but I've been kind of out of it here for the last few weeks, so I can work on that early next week and try to find out.
Well, I'm just wondering, because I mean, I was looking at the survey and there was like, $5.2 billion requested for, water, wastewater infrastructure funding. I'm just wondering if there's any legs to any funding requests coming from the water companies.
And just backing up for context, housing has been a really big priority for many years, and cities are saying that we don't have all of the necessary infrastructure in place to facilitate housing. And so we're asking for some financial support, and this has been a lead priority forever.
Yes.
And so I just want to make sure that council has the awareness that as staff, we respond to requests for information all the time, and that eventually helps support making a case for something else. So in this case, we've done all of our due diligence and responded to the league in time, and this is the evolution of that request for information. And so maybe we'll have an update on that when we learn more about the city council elections bill. Great. I'm gonna make a quick and dirty transition. Mark, heads up. I'm gonna go from a funding request right into your perspective. We have been asked to submit appropriations requests by the House. And so Representative Salinas has asked us to submit an appropriations request. For consistency, we are going to provide the same project, which is emergency power generation for 2 senior housing properties. This is an add to an existing project that is going full bore. So it would be a nice way with a little bit of capital resources for us to be able to ensure that seniors living in affordable housing can get out of those properties in the opportunity for power to go out like it did in the winter. So we're going to advance the same thing and hopefully see some results there federally. Mark, do you want to give us, it's totally unfair to ask you to do a quick federal update, but would you please?
Absolutely happy to do so. Sorry, I was off at the beginning. My apologies. Yeah, on the appropriations thing, that was good news. We kind of thought things were going in that direction, but the Appropriations Committee on both the House and the Senate side have put out guidance on their bills. They are going to be doing congressionally directed spending, community project funding, whatever you want to call it. They're going to be putting projects in their bills this time around. That is good news for the city of Salem. Most offices, or many offices, like Congresswoman Salinas, are basically giving priority to projects that were included in the FY25 bills as what they're going to be pushing forward again in FY26. So very good chance of success that if there are appropriations bills, period, that there should be funding for the city of Salem at the end of the day in that, which is, I don't want to be too positive, but I think our chances of success are good in this case there. In general, back here, it's still very interesting times. Things have
Undertell it.
things have, I would say, I don't want to say calmed down, but it was it was basically impossible. It'd be impossible to overstate the level to which the different actions taken by this administration were kind of sucking up all the oxygen in the room on any issue at any point in time back here in Washington, D.C. over the first couple of months of this administration. It was not only, even though the funding cuts and things like that weren't directly affecting like congressional staff and congressional offices, it also is all they were kind of working on either for their boss, they're having constituents who are interested and concerned, they're having stakeholders, cities, counties, other, people who are concerned about grant funding being paused, a whole host of issues like that there. We're seeing some things start to kind of change as we've gotten, a few months in, they've been hiring up people at kind of below the secretary level on the staff side, which has allowed a lot of these agencies to actually start to, for lack of a better term, function. This is a normal thing at the beginning of most new administrations. When you don't have the political staff in there, the career staff will kind of keep things, keep the trains running on time while they wait for the political staff to come in here. This time around, they were both laying off a lot of the career staff while at the same time not having the political staff in place to kind of take care of some of the actions that you would kind of expect out of a department and how they should work. That's changing, and that's changing pretty rapidly. We're seeing a lot more of the people that we would kind of work with appear in these different agencies. We're getting meetings over there. They have started to, in a lot of cases, push out grant projects and funding for things that they'd kind of put a pause on while they wanted to review, and they've started pushing those out. I'll mention DOT specifically. They've been pushing a lot of funding out the door and trying to get things moving there, which is a real positive when it kind of on that side. In Congress, they've been generally focused on, in addition to kind of reacting to this administration, trying to deal with their budget, which is different than the appropriations. It's a framework document, when the only real, I would say, utility that it has that has kind of a real impact is their ability to use something called the Reconciliation Project to pass major spending or basically revenue elements, either spending or taxes, to move through Congress and move through specifically the Senate with 50 votes plus one. And the big news kind of on that is because the House and Senate initially passed different bills, different budgets, is the House yesterday passed the Senate version of their budget, which by a one vote majority, which kind of sets the stage to allow them to do to try to enact those different kind of cuts, both tax cuts and spending cuts that they kind of have been talking about and alluding to. This, as difficult as this process was to get to here, the stuff they've done so far is the easy stuff, because it doesn't actually specify where the cuts are coming from and what is going to happen. And it makes it much harder to kind of be attacked for cutting Medicare, for cutting specific programs and different things like this. The next step when it comes to trying to cut the 1.5 trillion that they're talking about cutting is going to actually have very specific cuts in it and what they're actually doing. So that's kind of their next step on that process. But I think broadly things will slow down on that front for a while, and it'll be more of kind of a normal a normal Congress dealing with bills in kind of a normal way going on with the appropriations process kind of moving forward there as well. So that's just kind of a quick rundown. Are there any questions or anything like that?
That was perfect. Does anyone have any other questions? Sorry.
I don't have questions, but I'm encouraged to hear that folks who are supposed to get their earmarks are first in line for getting earmarks in the next fiscal year, hopefully. So.
Fingers crossed. It was not every office did that, but that was Salinas' determination is this is what I want to do last time, unless there's some compelling reason not to do it. And that's basically what our job was, to wait and say, yes, we're still interested in that. And then they're gonna be pushing those as their top priorities. So
that's great news. It's I mean, the best we could hope for under the circumstances, really.
Yes, go ahead.
Mark, is there any, we've seen EPA kind of cut some funding, and we know there's a lot of unspent dollars out there from remaining ARPA funds and SRF funds. Is there any talk about clawbacks?
definitely. And it's tough to know kind of exactly what they're referring to. One of the ways that they were able to get the Republican support for the budget that passed yesterday, because there were some kind of budget deficit hardliners on the Republican side who were planning on voting against the bill, which would have tanked the budget. One of the ways they were able to get there is there were significant promises that in addition to the spending cuts that are included in the Senate, what was originally the Senate, but now the House passed budget as well, that in addition to those cuts, that they'd be looking very hard at other kinds of dollars that are out there that are still out there from some of these other programs to try to claw that back and achieve some spending cuts there as well. So I think there's still some danger in certain kinds of programs where they may try to do that.
And I think Jason was asking for a friend. The city has spent all of its ARPA dollars, so.
He's asking for a friend.
He's asking, because we have, someone up Canyon who really needs to use those resources. And it would help us in terms of our water.
Yeah, I think the main advice on all these things as possible is if you have the ability to if you haven't signed something yet and you have the ability to sign something and the federal government's going to do it, definitely do that. If you have an open grant that's kind of out there that you can draw down on, keep drawing down on it now as much as you can, because until that money's gone, spent and out the door, I think some of these different clawbacks are definitely things that are on the table.
Thank you, Mark.
Absolutely.
And finally, Mark, I hope I didn't offend you. I talked about key upcoming meetings next week, and I didn't report to council that you and I are getting together for lunch and coordinating stuff.
Yes, that's the most key and important meeting that we have.
We don't have any other business. Okay, we are adjourned.
Good to see everybody.
Thank you.